Now, George McMichael, the father,
Yes.
he actually put the recording of the video of the murder. He took it, put it on a hard drive, and he went to every public media outlet, handing it to the public to declare his innocence. All behind his perspective.
Yeah, because he believed exactly what I just said. I'm going to be believed because when you see this, I don't know any other lens except for the Constitution. And so when I go there, I'm not saying, hey, I was wrong. I'm saying I was what? Within my constitutional rights.
Wow.
So that's how he was presenting and saying they're supposed to pat him on the back, give him a commendation because, hey, after all, is he wrong? That's what you told him. You told him that this was the lens that he would be viewed through. So he just took the evidence of that to you and said, hey, this was me. And guess what? My constitutional right, I was defending myself. I'm quite sure he listed all of those things that made it constitutional for him to do what he did.
He took it to iHeartRadio. He took it to WTLC. He took it to WSAV. Like in that mind frame.
That's right. And so that's the part that people are missing. You say, well, why do you have these Karens and Kens and things like that? The reason is because they bought into what we told them. That this is how you are viewed, is through this. You have the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
When we see these incidents, they're calling people and they're saying, wait till the police get here. They're not scared. They say when the police get here, I'm going to tell them and then they're going to deal with you. Not that they're going to deal with my behavior, they're going to deal with you. No fear of anything happening because they bought into this. We bought into the criminal code, and that's why you get scared when they say, well, wait till the police get here. You hear the same thing, you interpret it different because in their mind, they saying, when the police get here, it's on. You saying, man, when the police get here, it's on. But you're not looking at it as the same it's on as they are.
Yeah.
So it's no surprise that he took it to these different places. So N.O.B.L.E got involved because there was a need to rebuild the trust because that's not supposed to happen.
Right.
So N.O.B.L.E was supposed to come in and say, hey, wait. When you got this, why didn't you look at it objectively? When you got this, why didn't you look at it and view the facts and then act on the facts?
Right.
So there's something wrong that you now have to repair. So that's what N.O.B.L.'s role was initially. And then N.O.B.L. and the Georgia Chiefs of Police Association was integral in selecting, or not selecting, because we actually participated in the interview process for a new chief. So we went out and helped with the search of a new chief. And what people have to understand is that it doesn't necessarily have to be a black or white chief. It has to be the right chief.
Wow.
And so N.O.B.L was integral in saying, hey, we can help. We've done this search many times across the country, and we can help with this search for a chief nationwide. So that's what N.O.B.L did. So that's important because in that situation, you have to be able to say, hey, if something is wrong, obviously, we have to be able to correct that. And in correcting that situation, now we move forward. Say that, hey, and this is what interim chief was Chief Wiggins. It's one of the things we told Chief Wiggins is that, hey, when you have to own it, you have to go out to your community, and that's what they did. They had town hall meetings and things like this. You have to own these situations and say, something that we did wrong, we have to correct that. Be out in front. And you have to build a relationship with your community before you need a relationship with your community. It's just like if somebody asks you for money, if it's a person that you have a relationship with, you guys are mutually beneficial to each other, then when they ask you for something or when they come around, you don't say, hey, if I see him before he sees me, I'm out the back door.
Yeah.
If you have a relationship. It has to be the same in these communities. The clergy, has to know law enforcement. Citizens should know who the chief is. You should be able to go and introduce yourself.
That's right.
To the police department and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I live in this neighborhood. Heard you're the new chief, I wanted to come and meet you. Why? Because your tax dollars pay this person's salary.
That's right.
So if you see yourself a certain way, then you make others start to look at you the same.
Right.
If you say, hey, you're going to look at me through the lens of the Constitution. You try to change that lens from the other side, then hopefully it'll change these people's perspective. But it's important for people to understand that that was not a police shooting, but there were things that actually went wrong in the treatment of the individuals. And the similarity, of course, is George Zimmerman.
Right.
Because George Zimmerman was not arrested.
That's big.
he was questioned, but he wasn't arrested. In fact, I met Trayvon Martin's parents.
Okay.
When you listen to their story, he was on his way back to his father's house, and he didn't arrive. His father had no idea where he was. He didn't find him till, I want to say, several days later. I want to say at the morgue as a John Doe.
Wow.
But no one said, hey, this guy's name is Trayvon, where does he live in the neighborhood? He was taken from that scene and taken to a morgue, but his
In toe tag.
Yeah, his father didn't know where he was initially. He didn't find out that was where he was until later on.
So his father, you mean when Trayvon Martin got shot, laying in the middle of the ground in the park? I believe he got shot in the park, right?
He got shot in the apartment, well, in a subdivision, on his way back to his father's house.
To his father's house. So he's laying in the middle of the streets of the subdivision, and no one thinks to call his family.
Yeah, it was like on I guess like on a plot of grass or whatever, because it's in little grids. But they didn't necessarily know that that's where he was going.
Right.
But I mean that's a whole different story, because it's like I said, if you're looking at this whole mentality of the criminal code, you don't necessarily see this as a human being.
Right.
So there's no urgency to say, hey, we're going to stay in this neighborhood, we're going to knock on, because if it was a shooting,
right,
and that was a victim, and you treated that as a crime scene, then what do you see on the first 48? They go knock on doors.
They go knock on doors.
Did anybody hear anything, see anything, whatever? So if you knock on all the doors around there, then maybe you knock on his father's door.
Yeah.
And he said, hey, that's my son. But that didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
But in both of those instances, what should have happened, what we thought we would have seen, was an immediate arrest.
Okay.
It didn't happen. The arrest was later on, which made now the public trust go down.
Right.
They're saying, hey, what are you doing? How does this happen? And they're immediately thinking there's got to be something crooked, because otherwise this guy would have gotten arrested right away, because that's what happens to Hakeem when he shot somebody.
Right.
So we have to fix that. But the only way we fix that is we have to make that lens go where it's supposed to go.
Go where it's supposed to go.
When criminality is appropriate,
Okay.
that's where the lens goes, regardless of the color.
Right.
When the Constitution is appropriate, so we should start there first for everybody.
Right.
And then if it turns out that it's possibly criminality, then we actually say, let's look at it through that particular lens. But because we don't do that, we cause ourselves a lot of problems. And the most important problem that we cause is distrust of the citizenry in the police department or in law enforcement in general. So that's how we have to try to make these corrections, as far as getting that part straight first.
Correct.
And then we have to actually make an appeal of the guns down, appeal. And then I like Kwame Brown's from Brunswick.
Okay.
Incredible story in and of itself.
I had that chance to interview him a couple of weeks ago.
Oh man,
he's a phenomenal individual. I love his efforts and everything he's doing.
Well, first of all, he's very intelligent.
Okay.
All you have to do is listen to him, and if you don't view him as a big guy who played basketball,
right?
If you didn't know he played basketball, some young folks don't know.
Okay.
And you just listen to him, he's very intellectual.
Right.
And so he's saying part of the way you change some of this is you got to give these people, these young folks, a skill. I was in school, you had technical schools.
Right.
Woodwork, machine shop. They taught you how to work on plumbing, heating and air. That was all in some of those zone schools. That's what they were teaching.
Okay.
And they called them such and such tech, this tech. So they were teaching you those things.
Right.
In the school that I was in is where they were teaching the coding.
Okay.
So that's what he's talking about also, is saying that in this school where the tech was, put the coding in there too.
Okay.
Because you play video games in this tech school, why shouldn't you be able to make the video game?
Wow.
Why shouldn't you be able to benefit the same way by understanding how to code, and then you can make games, because your intellect isn't any different from this other guy's opportunity.
Right.
So if I put you in the same environment, I teach you coding. I also give you chances to learn how to be a contractor, if that's what you want, drywall or whatever. Heck, I don't know how to do that stuff in my house.
Right.
My brother went to the same school that I do.
Okay.
My brother went to engineering track, so he knows electrical engineering, He knows how to build a house.
Right.
Give me a mop and a broom, I'll go ahead and clean up after you finish. I don't know how to
But you don't know how to build a house, yeah.
But I didn't buy the house that you built.
Right.
I don't know how to do it, but he does.
But he does.
But if you give these kids this track, you can also give them hope and vision. And that's what helps with the violence. If you say, okay, I'm gonna help you, so let's just say adults,
Right.
right? People with 700 credit scores, they generally don't rob people.
Yeah.
So if I can show you how to get your credit score up so that you can have the thing, it's gonna lower your what? Frustration.
That's right.
It's gonna lower your anxiety because now you're able to earn, you're able to, get these different things that you wanna do for your family because I've shown you how to better yourself economically.
Right.
That's what he's talking about with the trading and the trades and the coding.
Okay.
Because that gives these young kids an avenue other than athletics. Because everybody's not going to be 7 foot tall. Everybody's not going to be phenomenal where they can say I can go straight from high school, play football.
Which is a culture that is highly taught in South Georgia, because when you're going to school as a high schooler in South Georgia, in any part of Georgia outside of Atlanta, you're groomed to say, hey man, it's the NFL or the NBA. And most of these kids end up in pulp mills, working at Walmart, working at these factories, and nobody's yelling and screaming their name anymore. So they turn to being the drug dealer with the big rims on the car, the drug dealer that's carrying the guns. They turn into something else because their dreams have been shattered, and they can't. They are craving for someone to scream their name.
That's right. And I would venture to say sometimes they don't dream big enough.
Right.
I tell people all the time, I sleep in a king size bed because I got big dreams.
Right.
Right. So it's like if you are saying that it's okay to work in a factory,
Right.
go to school, so that you can say, because what happens is a lot of the frustration that you see with brown, black and brown versus other folks.
Right.
Some of the other people, they were able to get those factory jobs right out of high school.
Right.
What happened to them? Automation.
Automation.
So once automation came, or once that factory could make the product cheaper in another country, they moved the whole factory.
Right.
They didn't take you with them.
Right.
So now you got a high school diploma, and then the jobs are up here. Am I going to hire a person with a master's degree, a person that knows how to write code, or am I going to hire a guy who's working 20 years in this factory, knows how to operate this machine?
That's right.
That you can't even run without code.
That's right.
So automation got you, not a brown person.
Yeah.
And so that's what's happened. That's why when you go to the airport, Delta Airlines has 15, 20 kiosks, 2 people.
Yeah.
The line is long as crap.
The line is long.
They say, hey, go get in there, go over there and use that automated thing.
Yeah.
That's how that automated thing don't need a day off.
Right. And Walmart on the same issue.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so whenever you see self-checkout, that means less people.
Right.
So automation is what's catching up to these people because their education hasn't caught up with the automation.
Wow.
And so that's why he's talking about coding. That's why it's important, is because I can only do so many things with my hands, and then it's going to be about the mind. And so, hey, if I can go ahead and program this thing, Tesla, listen to Elon Musk.
Right.
They just came out with a thing, iRobot.
Yeah, where the car drives it.
No, I'm talking about the human thing. They came out with a
What?
prototype for the thing. See, people don't understand when you see something in the movie, it's just prepping you for what's coming.
For what's coming.
Just like that pizza thing from iRobot downtown, they got a thing that bring your pizza to the table.
Wow.
I just saw it today. Just saw it on the news today. Walmart has started to deliver packages within a mile through what? A drone.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I had a drone company now for 3 years.
Okay.
But I saw that.
Right.
So it's like, hey, coding. Teach these kids how to fly these drones because that's where Walmart is going. That's where Amazon. That's where they're going.
Right.
They're going to doing this. If you don't know this stuff, you're behind.
Right.
So part of the way we get these folks, these young folks, out of this criminal-minded behavior is by putting them in a business-minded behavior and saying criminals aren't very successful in business.
Right.
Business people are.
Okay.
So if I teach you how to learn a business and then how to run your own business, then I can get you, it's easier for me to tell you to put the gun down because you understand that the gun is bad for business.
Right.
Look at all these different guys who were successful rappers, but then they ended up getting blackballed because they were keeping it real. So they go into an executive office, they turn over tables, you know, they bringing pistols in there. I'm not trying to,
Yeah.
I'm an executive, that's not my world, I'm trying to make money.
Exactly.
So we gotta let these young guys understand that the gun is a detriment to what you're doing.
Right.
Because once I go ahead and commit a crime, now somebody's looking for me. As opposed to if I make a dime, nobody's really looking for me.
Nobody's looking for me.
And so we gotta get them to understand that, yeah, the gun is associated with crime. If I go ahead and teach you something that's associated with you making money,
Right.
you know, you bettering yourself, then now you can change your perspective. Now you can see yourself somewhere. Now we can see sequential steps. I do thing 1, thing 2, thing 3.
Okay.
And that's what ultimately gets me to where I need to be. But I just have to be thinking in that mindset. So somehow or another they're thinking that the gun is machismo, is it's keeping it real, it's all this kind of stuff. But it's just tragic. And now it's so normalized that you and I can pull out our phones right now. We go to popular social media sites and we can find at least 5 shootings right now that somebody reported. Why? Because when they take their phone out,
Right.
they don't take the phone out to call 911 for an ambulance.
They take it out.
No, they want to be the first one to upload it to get as many hits, likes,
And
followers
views.
possible, and views, because they equate that to money off of somebody else's tragedy. So it's a long fight. That's why
Right.
it's the $100,000 question,
Okay.
because this is the cruise ship that we have to turn around,
Right.
as opposed to the jet ski
Right.
or the speedboat that we can turn around quickly.
Right.
This is going to take a while, but if we don't get this right, this is what we turn our future over to. So as we go off to be OGs, these are the youngsters that's coming up, that
These OGs 2.0 coming up.
Yeah.
OGs 3.0, 4.0.
and they don't know anything about, all they see is turn up.
Wow.
All they see is, I got to come at you at 1,000
Yeah.
every time.
Yeah.
There is no de-escalation. Everything is up, 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 up. It's not conversation, it's straight to confrontation.
Wow. Officer Ahmad, we want to thank you for coming on Game Changers TV, Game Changers Media Network. It's an honor. I see part 3, part 4 going with this. It's so much we could have talked about in this platform. It's so much more we could have talked about. And I just want to thank you for taking the time out.
Man, I appreciate it.
Anybody want to give a shout out to before you go?
Definitely. The Georgia chapter, N.O.B.L.E, all the ladies and men of the chapter who make it what it is. Georgia, the national organization, because what we're doing on chapter level is going on chapters all around the country, and doing it on a national platform. We're committed, to you as a community and to making, our profession the best it can be. But it can only be that with your help as a community. So we have to work together. We have the Georgia chapter will have a summit, law enforcement and community summit, upcoming in February, where we will partner with the community, to not only discuss some of the same issues that we've discussed today, but to make an action plan of how we actually put this discussion and make it a verb where we're actually doing something in the community, saying that if no other state or no other municipality or metropolitan area is the example, we can make Georgia that example moving forward, making a difference in the community.
I want to give a shout out to Henry County Sheriff Reginald Scandrett, from Game Changers TV, Game Changers Media Network, and also District Attorney Darius Patello. We worked with both of them. Glad to have met you. Glad to start this conversation again. Big shout out to Sandra Rozier. Without her, this interview would not have happened.
Absolutely.
She's definitely an advocate in the community. Just wanted to give her that shout out and thank her for helping us bridge the gap. between community and law enforcement, continue the initiative of gang and gun violence, and we look forward to bringing you back for part 3, part 4, because it's so much that we need to talk about when it comes to bridging that gap between community and law enforcement.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we look forward to that and continuing this conversation. But like I said, taking the conversation from the seats to the streets and making it action.
One last thing, how can we find N.O.B.L.E online?
You can find N.O.B.L E online at GA.NOBLE.org, that's for the Georgia chapter, or NOBLEnational.org for the national organization. And so if you are in law enforcement and you are not a member of N.O.B.L E, especially the Georgia chapter, then we want you to go to GA.NOBLE.org, get that application, and join our chapter, and also join the national organization.
Awesome. Thank you for taking the time out with us today.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.